Just last week, Glenn Rogers was turning the corn stalks over in his field and happened to glance down where he had just plowed and noticed something laying in the dirt. Glenn got off his tractor, and when he picked up that soft, moldy object, he just about fell over when he realized what he had discovered. Glenn had finally found the ball. The same ball Norman Johnson hit 34 years ago from the baseball diamond just bordering his cornfield. That ball was never found after that legendary game back in the 60s. Glenn left his tractor where it was and headed across the field to his pickup truck. He had to get to DB Diner on 9W to show it to all the old-timers that had coffee and rolls there in the morning. DB Diner's got to have the best coffee in New York State. Now, when Glenn walked through the door into the diner, he held that ball in the air just like he was the Statue of Liberty. It didn't take long before everybody was up and out of their seats and crowding the aisles to see what he had. He never saw so many people in Middle Hope get excited all at the same time about anything, except maybe when the semi-rig drove through the diner's front window and took out 2 booths. Bob Johnson, Norman Johnson's son, finally took the ball to his seat and sat there gazing at it in kind of a melancholy euphoria. Even though that ball was real special to everybody in the diner, it meant the world to Bob. The day Bob's dad hit that ball into the cornfield, Bob's life took on a new pattern that would mold him into the respected man he is today. 30-something years ago, back in the 60s, Bob was a young man just out of school. He had let his hair and sideburns grow long and had a bad attitude about everything that was considered normal. He struggled to find answers about the Vietnam War and other issues of the day, and he totally resented his father. He saw him as a dirty old garage mechanic. Even though Norman Johnson had just accepted the Lord and was making efforts to clean his life up, Bob still remembered a man who drank too much. Now, the day Norman experienced salvation, he just happened to be sitting in the Middle Hope United Methodist Church when suddenly his life story flashed before his eyes, and he realized he had been reading the wrong book all those years. Now fanatical and zealous for his newfound faith, Norman read his Bible and prayed every day, and the Methodists were glad to have him as well, because before Norman went to Korea and started drinking, he was considered one of the best ball players north of Rockland County. And the annual Middle Hope Church's picnic and ball game was coming up, where the Middle Hope United Methodist Church would battle the Middle Hope First Baptist Church for the greatly coveted apple press that they hadn't had their hands on since God knows when. Nobody was quite sure why the Baptists always won the game, but some have speculated that the Baptists were strong on discipline and the Methodists spent too much time singing. Well, the day had finally come, a beautiful fall day with temperatures in the 60s, and the reds and oranges and yellows of the maples and sumac shining in bright contrast with the transparent blue of the sky. Everybody laid their quilts down around home plate. Methodists on one side, Baptists on the other. Before the game began, Pastor Bopkins of the Baptists always led the prayer, and the Honorable Reverend Wilcox of the Methodists led in singing the national anthem. That's the way it always was. Now, just after the game began, Bob, in his antisocial attitude, finally meandered in and sat down next to his mother on the Methodist side and watched the ritual begin. This year was different from the past years, though. Every time the Baptists pulled ahead with a couple of home runs, Norman would come up to bat and drive a couple runs in for the Methodists. It was finally one of those classic games where each team would make miraculous plays and the other would counter their success with more amazement, finally leading to excitement, tension, and anxiety. Each team's fans screaming at the top of their lungs and forgetting the self-restraint they learned in church that very same morning. The bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, nobody on base, and the score tied 27-27. And the Methodists were at bat. Throughout the whole game, Norman was refining his old talents, just warming up. Each time Norman went to bat, the Baptists realized they needed to move a little farther back into the field. Now it was the end of the game, and Bob could see his father come up to bat. The screaming parishioners silenced into a hush. They could hear the autumn breeze wisp through the trees. The Baptist men rushed to move as far back as they could to the edge of the cornfield. Now as the first pitch flew over the plate, Norman just stood there with a big grin on his face. Strike one. As the second pitch was let go, Norman swung and missed. Strike two. Well, now Norman didn't have that grin anymore. He hit the bat on the plate a couple times and then positioned himself like a statue. When the third pitch flew, all were standing without a breath. As it passed over the plate, the precise sound of that ball cracking off Norman's bat left everyone suspended in a moment of time, watching it sail away. When they realized that ball shot out over left field into the autumn blue and disappeared, the Methodists became hysterical. Reverend Wilcox led his group singing "Onward, Christian Soldiers," and some of the men ran over and took possession of the sacred apple press. And all that was left on the Baptist side was sour discontent. Norman was a hero that day, which helped refresh his wife's memories of some of the qualities she married him for. And Bob Johnson saw a side of his father he had never seen: humble determination and self-respect. Soon Bob learned to emulate his father and grow with patient character. Now as Bob sat in his booth at DB Diner and looked upon that old ball, tears came to his eyes as he remembered all the good times he shared with his father over the past 30 years. Somehow that ball worked as a catalyst that helped form his life from that distant past. So if you're ever in Middle Hope, you might just want to stop in at DB Diner and take a gander at that ball up on the shelf next to the Indian head. And remember, a simple object may reappear in your life sometime that will bring back some sweet old memories. It just might be a bicycle uncovered in the garage, a pocket knife, a forgotten doll, or maybe some old baseball that was found in a cornfield.